Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. Today, we bring you some news. Catherine's shocked rise in monarchy. By Princess Anne's big move left Camilla in tears. The British monarchy is at a crossroads. Princess Anne's support and the Wales's plans for the future. The British monarchy, which has survived for a long time, thanks to stability, ceremonial order, and a strong sense of public responsibility, is at a very important turning point right now. A series of events in the first half of 2024 put the Crown's ability to handle shocks and stay legitimate in a contemporary media-saturated government to the test. Most importantly, serious health problems that affected two of the most important people, King Charles III and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, showed how weak the system was. Those incidents got a lot of attention from the public and the media. They also led to a lot of internal discussions among top royals and advisors, and they sped up talks on how to make the institution more resilient and relevant. According to reliable sources, a fresh look at the Princess of Wales's position has been at the heart of those talks. Princess Anne, the Princess Royal, publicly and privately backed that assessment. Her support of Catherine is being seen as a strong vote of confidence in the Wales's ability to lead the monarchy into its next phase. This lengthy research looks at the many factors that are affecting the royal environment right now. It puts Princess Anne's support in the context of the family's institutional history, looks at the series of crises that led to an unusually stressful time, looks at how Catherine's personal handling of illness affected how people saw her as a suitable candidate, and talks about the strategic plan that the Prince and Princess of Wales are said to be working on for the future of the monarchy. The study keeps the facts that were presented, but goes into further detail about what they mean in terms of operations, the Constitution, and culture. It looks at the real measures that may need to be taken to make changes, the problems that come up when changes are made, and the human conflicts that are always present when an organization changes, because it is made up of people who are both public servants and private family members. Princess Anne, the monarchy's steady rock. To comprehend the significance of Princess Anne's support of the Princess of Wales beyond familial attachment, it is essential to examine her distinctive institutional function and the attributes that have influenced her public service. Anne is the only daughter of the late Queen Elizabeth II and the Princess Royal. She has both a symbolic and a practical role in the household. She has been known as one of the most loyal and hard-working members of the home since she has been consistently involved for decades. That reputation has been established on long-term effort that isn't always exciting, such as regular engagements, hands-on support of charities, and a willingness to concentrate on the practical side of running an institution instead of the public side. Her public persona, forthright, pragmatic, and unsentimental, contrasts well with other family members who are more likely to make rhetorical or policy-driven comments. Princess Anne's personality has been formed by both her own choices and the examples set by the preceding generation, Prince Philip's strictness and Queen Elizabeth's careful leadership. In the royal household, she serves as a keeper of institutional memory. That job as a custodian gives her power, which is why her opinion matters to both family members and professional court officials. The Princess Royal and King Charles III have always had a respectful relationship. Charles has been known for years as an advocate for the environment, architecture, and the arts. Anne, on the other hand, focuses on competence, honesty, and the mechanics of representation. Prominent courtiers and advisors often ask her for advice on how to plan events which patronages require attention, and how to make sure that things keep going when prominent individuals need to stand aside. This is exactly the kind of practical advice that makes her support for Catherine strategically important. When a person who is closely linked to long-term public service and institutional integrity shows confidence in another royal, it acts as an internal endorsement. This gives staff, ministers, and the public peace of mind that the plans being made are based on an understanding of what keeps the institution running. People who have talked about these discussions say that Anne's evaluation of Catherine focused on important traits: a strong sense of duty, emotional stability, the ability to build public trust without being over the top, and the ability to connect with modern audiences while maintaining the dignity that the crown requires. Anne thinks that these attributes are not only good things about people, they are also things that a monarchy has to do to be relevant and keep going. Her endorsement functions on many levels as family support, as a public signal, and as an internal method for legitimizing a generational transfer of public obligations. A time of unprecedented difficulty. The first several months of 2024 were a really difficult time. The news that the Princess of Wales would have surgery on her stomach and that the king was getting treatment for a kind of cancer found during a procedure for benign prostate enlargement came out at about the same time, which made things very difficult right away. At a time when people expected things to stay the same, institutional capacity was temporarily reduced. This simultaneous inability underscored an intrinsic conflict within the slimmed-down monarchy paradigm that King Charles had long promoted. Although consolidating official responsibilities among a smaller number of paid working royals may save public funding and enhance efficiency, it simultaneously decreases redundancy. When there aren't many active senior royals, simultaneous absences create big gaps that are hard to fill without lowering the level of representation or putting too much work on the other officials. The practical effects were clear. Ceremonial duties, visits from patrons, and international commitments necessitated reallocation. Communications teams had to handle delicate medical information while protecting privacy and dignity, and the family had to have a consistent public face at a time when people were very interested. Queen Camilla, the Prince of Wales, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, and Princess Anne, the only living senior royals, stepped in to fill the gap, although this caused stress. That pressure was made worse by continuing problems with their reputations that had started with previous scandals. For example, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's alienation and public critiques, as well as the unresolved fallout from Prince Andrew's ties to Jeffrey Epstein. These problems that were already there made the family's public image worse and made it harder to deal with fresh challenges. In light of this, it is said that senior family members had a number of substantial and grave meetings. The King and Queen, the Prince and Princess of Wales, Princess Anne and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh were all there. The meetings had urgent technical goals such as redistributing tasks, coordinating messages, and maintaining institutional continuity. They also had strategic goals like imagining how the monarchy might be set up to better handle future shocks. Princess Anne's stated expression of trust in Catherine was important to the strategy in those talks. It served as an official endorsement of a leadership paradigm centered on the Waleses and their ability to garner public confidence and operational authority. Catherine's role became stronger through hardship. The way Catherine handled her illness, and most importantly, the way she spoke about it, changed how others within and outside the institution saw her worth. After the first notification of scheduled surgery, the media went crazy with speculation and invasive comments. This is a reminder of how rapidly public interest and political narratives can take over health-related news. Some observers said that a family portrait released for Mother's Day had been digitally manipulated, which made them even more worried about the legitimacy of the media and how much control they had over it. However, the story changed a lot with the princess's direct video address on March 22nd, in which she spoke about her cancer diagnosis and how she was getting preventative chemotherapy. The video had a simple tone, calm, intimate, and honest, that had a number of consequences. It made the princess seem more like a real person, which made the institution seem less far apart from regular people. It also showed a new way for royals to be open and honest that was different from the more indirect third-party pronouncements of the past. It was important that it let the princess speak in her own voice and on her own terms. This helped to stop invasive reporting and provide a template for future disclosures if required. Most people who heard the message were sympathetic. Many individuals who wrote about the direct approach said that it struck a chord with those who had faced similar health problems. They also said that the princess's honesty created a feeling of shared experience that made the monarchy seem more able to connect with people on an emotional level. Internally, top family members, including Princess Anne, were reportedly pleased by the princess's calmness and readiness to speak in public under stress. People who were close to the discussions say that Anne's respect for Catherine was based not only on her admiration for Catherine's personal strength, but also on an institutional evaluation that Catherine had shown qualities calmness, clarity, and the ability to keep doing meaningful charitable work while she was recovering, that are important for high-level royal representation. From a strategic standpoint, Catherine's experience has served as a type of validation. She was able to turn her own sickness into an advantage for institutional empathy and authenticity by negotiating the junction between her own disease and her public job. For an institution that is being assessed more and more on the real social worth of its actions, they are operational virtues. They make it easier for the monarchy to connect with people, lead charity efforts in a credible way, and maintain public legitimacy during times of hardship. In this sense, Princess Anne's support is not simply a personal vote of confidence, but also a well-thought-out decision on whether Catherine is fit to play a prominent role in a modernized monarchy that can handle future problems. A new plan. The Wales's idea for a future monarchy. The Prince and Princess of Wales are said to be working on a strategy plan to be ready for their future reign in reaction to the immediate shocks and the larger institutional challenges. The strategy is both reactive, dealing with weaknesses that have come to light recently, and proactive, setting forth rules for a monarchy that wants to remain relevant, responsible, and strong in the 21st century. The plan is based on 3 pillars that work together, building a bigger, more flexible team of family members to help. Putting more emphasis on evidence-led philanthropy that can show measurable effects on society, and a strict approach to succession planning and managing reputation. 1. Adding to the team. A key part of the Wales's approach is having a diverse workforce. It's evident that the slimmed-down approach is more efficient, but the recent health problems showed how having too few senior working royals may make things less efficient. The Wales's recommended strategy to reduce the possibility of single points of failure focuses on expanding the number of trustworthy family members who may represent the crown. This is not a call for a full return to a large state-funded royal system. Instead, it calls for a middle tier of family members who take on specific supported roles for short periods of time or for specific purposes. They would get training and mentoring while avoiding the full-time commitments and public costs that come with being a full-time royal. People who would be suitable candidates for this middle tier include family members who already have some public goodwill and who share the Wales's beliefs that they think are in line with their public model. For example, Zara and Mike Tyndall provide a realistic picture of a working family that is involved in public life. Zara's connection to Princess Anne as her daughter keeps the family together, and the Tyndalls' professional credentials and down-to-earth public personalities may appeal to those who value honesty above formality. In the same way, the younger members of the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh's family, like Lady Louise and James Earl of Wessex, may slowly be given public roles that match their interests. This would give the royal family new perspectives from a younger generation, without putting them in the full glare of HRH responsibilities too soon. Princess Eugenie is another person whose careful involvement might make the larger team stronger. She has stayed focused on charity work and stayed out of current family problems. To make this bigger team work, we need institutional support. Training in public duties, dealing with the media, and running a charity would be necessary. There should also be clear rules for when and how these family members are called upon, and a clear way to communicate with the public about the difference between state-funded and privately funded activities. The strategy must also respect the freedom of people who may choose to work in private or just be involved in public life to a limited extent. The intermediate tier approach tries to find a middle ground. It increases operational capacity while keeping people safe from the full pressures of permanent state-funded royal jobs. The plan includes not just personnel issues, but also a strategy for raising the Wales's own children and the offspring of other family members who could one day take on public jobs. This would include not just academic education on civic institutions, but also teaching people how to use soft skills like diplomacy, running a charity, and working with the media. The idea is to build an institutional pipeline, a continual flow of talents and values that keeps the crown able to represent the state well, while also meeting modern needs. 2. A focus on meaningful giving and making a difference in society. A second part of the Wales's goal is to focus on demonstrable results in their charitable work. Instead of giving money to a lot of different organizations, for mostly symbolic reasons, the strategy focuses on a smaller selection of strategic activities where the royal couple can leverage their institutional prominence and long-term commitment to make a real difference in society. This method meets the public's demand that well-known people who get public money should be able to prove that they are responsible and make a difference. The Royal Foundation is already a major part of this activity. The foundation may create long-term programs, hire independent evaluators, and work with universities, NGOs, and government agencies by concentrating on particular areas of evidence-based need, such as mental health conservation and early childhood development. The Earthshot Prize is an example of how the monarchy's symbolic capital may be used to encourage people to work together and come up with new ideas to solve global environmental problems. The award isn't just for show. It tries to get people to put money into technology and policies that will really cut emissions and make the planet more resilient. The Princess of Wales's Shaping Us project is another example of a dedication to long-term societal transformation based on evidence. The initiative is based on academic research regarding how children grow in their first 5 years of life. Its goal is to change public policy professional practice and how people think about the value of those years. By bringing together specialists funding long-term study and pushing for systemic changes, this kind of program may go from being a favor to having an impact on policy. However, this can only happen if there is ongoing involvement, independent assessment, and clear reporting. The Wales's approach would need to make evaluation processes official in order to build confidence. This would include having explicit logic models, independent evaluations, public reports of results, and a willingness to change course when programs don't work as planned. Long time frames are an important aspect of making real societal change, especially in areas like child development and environmental innovation. The monarchy's commitment to make long-term evidence-based changes instead of looking for quick gains in the media will be key to showing that they are valuable to the people. 3. Planning for succession and making tough choices. The health problems that have affected the King and the Princess of Wales have made people more aware of the need for succession planning and how to handle reputational responsibilities. The House must deal with concerns regarding who will represent the Crown and under what terms, in addition to pressing problems. These concerns are not only about how things are run, they are also about the Constitution and morality. There are 2 big reputational instances in succession planning. Prince Andrew's connection to Jeffrey Epstein has made it impossible for him to return to public duty. This is a long-term reputational risk for the institution that needs to be handled clearly by the administration. Decisions about how to use royal property's formal titles and any remaining ceremonial ties must be made in a way that protects the institution's credibility while also following due process and the law. Insiders say that institutional custodians agree that strict rules are needed to keep any official ties that may hurt public trust to a minimum. The situation with Prince Harry and Meghan is more complicated. Their partial withdrawal from royal responsibilities and their business operations have made it hard to tell the difference between private businesses and those that seem to use royal rank to their advantage. Any future framework must establish more explicit parameters who is permitted to adopt royal titles in public commercial activities, the safeguards for private branding, and the formal recognition of the offspring of senior royals. Princess Anne's advice that one cannot be half in and partially out is based on an institutional concept that aims to keep things clear and avoid confusion that might damage public confidence. These choices will need challenging balancing acts. If you prune people who are liabilities, it may defend the institution. But if you do it wrong, it could seem uncharitable or divisive. So any steps that are done must be backed up by principled reasons based on duty, the public good, and the Constitution. Clear communication and a thoroughly planned strategy may help people see things in a less random way. Succession planning needs more than just picking people. It also has to make precise plans for how things will work. The family must write down which responsibilities cannot be delegated, outline the order in which state functions may be delegated, and practice how to handle transitions. It must also think about the well-being of people who take on more duties and make sure that there are support mechanisms in place for their health, privacy, and mental strength. Operational and constitutional limitations. It is important to keep in mind legal, constitutional, and political limits while trying to change the monarchy's public architecture. The monarch's position is specified by the Constitution, which includes various rights and responsibilities that are set by law, tradition, and public expectation. Changes to how public tasks are assigned or how working royals are set up will need to be carefully planned with government ministries and in certain situations with Commonwealth nations where the crown is still head of state. One of the practical limits is the control of titles and styles. Even though the sovereign has a lot of authority to give and take away honors, these acts have symbolic meaning and might lead to scrutiny from the public or parliament. The sovereign grant, the administration of the crown estate, and the usage of royal assets are all examples of how public accountability and ancient prerogatives come together in a complicated way. If you want to move about responsibilities or add an intermediate layer, you need to have open talks about how money comes in, how people are held accountable, and how to tell the difference between public and private spending. Things become much more complicated when you think of the Commonwealth. The monarchy serves as a national emblem transcending the UK into autonomous territories where constitutional acknowledgement of the crown is significant. Changes in the royal family's structure or the way they portray themselves might make other capitals wonder about continuity and recognition. For instance, if the list of working royals changes in any way, the prime ministers of Canada, Australia, or New Zealand could ask questions about it. To prevent constitutional problems overseas and to handle foreign sensitivities, it will be important to talk to people ahead of time and provide unambiguous messages. Communications media strategy and how others see you. The events of early 2024 made it clear that the monarchy's legitimacy depends on its communications campaign. The administration of sensitive health information, the handling of digitally changed pictures, and the public's need for authenticity all showed weaknesses. Many people saw the Princess of Wales's choice to speak directly via video as a good example of narrative agency, since it reaffirmed the royal voice in a manner that fit with modern expectations for honesty and personal witness. It seems like the royal household is thinking of a more proactive way to communicate that mixes regulated openness with purposeful story management. This might include more frequent honest updates on issues that the public cares about, greater use of multimedia tools to reach younger people, and a better ability to quickly fight false information. It is just as crucial to teach everyone in the family how to use the media so that those who represent the crown may talk to each other in a real and consistent way. This communications plan has to deal with a complicated media landscape that includes conventional tabloids, 24-hour news channels, and social media sites where rumors and fake photos may spread quickly. The household's task is to safeguard personal privacy while fulfilling valid public expectations for accountability. Mistakes may lead to a quick and long-lasting reaction. The Wales's focus on realness and evidence-based programs shows that they know that real action, not just words, is important to keep people's trust. Taking care of money and being responsible. It is not always true that the public agrees to public funding. People are paying more attention to the monarchy's finances, and most people think that royal expenditures should benefit the public. The Wales's idea for an intermediate layer will need to be shown to be cost-effective and outcome-oriented, even if the slimmed-down model tried to save money by combining governmental functions. Some ways to make things more open may include yearly reports on how much money the Royal Foundation spends on charitable work, independent audits of the foundation, and clearer lines between activities that are paid for with public money and those that are paid for with private money. Publishing impact assessments of significant programs and showing that resources are being used wisely may help make the case that the monarchy provides real advantages to society that are in line with popular support. These kinds of changes are not only for show, they are necessary for keeping democratic support for an organization that is partly funded by taxpayers. International and diplomatic issues. The monarchy's soft power is a useful tool for diplomacy. Senior royals go on state trips, host foreign guests, and take part in international conferences. The Wales's interests, including taking care of the environment and helping children grow up, are important to diplomats and may help with formal foreign policy aims. Still, ministers and diplomats will need to work together to make sure everything is in line. High-profile projects like the Earthshot Prize need careful planning to make sure they help the UK's diplomatic goals instead of making them harder to reach. Changes to the royal family's public buildings will also have effects in other Commonwealth nations. To preserve the monarchy's worldwide stature, and avoid starting discussions in other places that can take attention away from domestic issues, it will be important to have good relations with prime ministers, governors general, and other constitutional authorities. Managing risks and making institutions stronger. The events of early 2024 made it even more important to manage risk in a methodical way. To build resilience, you need both administrative preparation and a change in culture that makes people ready for change. The home would benefit from clear job descriptions, written rules for delegating tasks, cross-training among personnel, and practice planning for major occasions. It means acknowledging that change is always necessary and making it common for people to be absent from work for health or other personal reasons. Scenario planning should be a regular part of doing business. Exercises that replicate simultaneous absences, quick reputational crises, or the abrupt loss of a key figure may help make decision trees' communication responses and legal contingencies clearer. These rehearsals would help figure out who would take on important tasks, how messages will be sent, and what legal or constitutional measures need to be taken in rare situations. Putting it into action timelines and problems. It will take years to turn strategic plans into real-world actions. To grow an intermediate layer, you need to hire, check, and educate new people. To add an impact-focused philanthropic agenda, you need to work with research institutes and make patient financing commitments. To prepare for succession, you need strong legal, ceremonial, and welfare provisions. There are actual and different barriers. Internally, family members who are committed to conventional ways of representing things may not want things to change. People who are skeptical about changes may question their motivations or distrust their sincerity. Politicians may also be careful about how they seem like they are becoming involved in royal matters. To be effective, implementation needs progress that can be monitored, clear benchmarks for success, and learning that happens over time. Small, clear victories like a well-run nonprofit initiative that gets good reviews or a well-managed public-facing job for a well-known family member can help push for bigger changes. The human dimension: duty, privacy, and kindness. Even with all the strategic thinking, the human element is still the most important. Members of the royal family, in addition to their official duties, deal with sickness, loss, and the normal stresses of family life. So institutional resilience must be balanced with treating people well. The choice to reveal Catherine's illness talk honestly and put recovery first was a careful way of balancing public interest and personal privacy. Future methods must maintain such sensitivity, recognizing that public service cannot endure if it unjustly compromises the health or autonomy of people. Conclusion: a monarchy in change. The British monarchy is at a very important point in its history. Changes in the population, unforeseen health problems, and changing public expectations have shown how fragile an institution can become as it shrinks. Those same forces have also made it clearer how to go forward by using both institutional memory and fresh ideas. The apparent agreement between experienced caretakers like Princess Anne and the Prince and Princess of Wales is particularly important, since it brings together the stabilizing authority of older voices with the desire for fundamental change in the younger generation. Princess Anne's support for the Princess of Wales is important both symbolically and in terms of what it means for the Princess of Wales's work. It is not just a show of family support. It is an endorsement based on years of service and an evaluation of the skills required to lead the crown in a world that is changing quickly. Catherine's behavior throughout her illness, her choice to speak directly, her calmness under criticism, and her dedication to important causes has strengthened that view and served to solidify her place in the family's planned organizational structure. The Wales's plan is to make the monarchy more relevant, accountable, and adaptable by expanding a flexible support team focusing royal influence on evidence-based projects with measurable results and being honest about succession planning. It knows that just having symbolic power isn't enough at a time of fast social change and more scrutiny. To maintain legitimacy, it will need to provide public value, be open about how it runs things, and set clear limits on reputational risks. There are still a lot of problems to solve. Finding a balance between history and modernization, keeping the crown's distinctive symbolism while making sure it is still useful every day, and making difficult judgments concerning titles and responsibilities will need both wisdom and sensitivity. Still, the stated agreement between seasoned caretakers and a younger generation that wants change provides a careful but clear route ahead. The project that is now ongoing is simple in its goals, even if it is hard to carry out, to bring back stability, build public confidence, and make sure that the institution is still important to future generations. The Princess of Wales has become an important person in that endeavor. This is because she is close to the monarchy, and because she has shown a mix of contemporary sensibility and traditional responsibility. As the monarchy deals with the short-term challenges of recovery and the long-term goal of redefinition, people at home and abroad will be watching closely to see how experienced advice and new ideas lead to real changes in governance, clear leadership, and lasting public trust. In the next few years, it will be important to see if the Crown can adapt its ceremonial strengths to the needs of public service in the 21st century. It will also be important to see if the institutional structure that the Waleses are sketching out, with the support of experienced figures like Princess Anne, will remain a good model for continuity and renewal. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts, and goodbye for now.